Welcome to Earful of Dirt, bringing you the latest Major League Rugby news, views, and abuse. Now here are your hosts, Aaron, Dan, and Victor.
And we're live. Good evening, everyone. How's it going? No? All right.
Was that a question for the people back home, or is that for us?
That's definitely for you.
Like
but...
people at home are sitting and listening going, I'm good. Thank you.
Doing well, guys. Good evening. Welcome to Earful of Dirt.
Hey, I'm just happy to be alive, so thanks for checking.
So Corey tried to...
Corey!
Corey had the sickness for the itis for a couple weeks. So yeah, that happened.
2 weeks.
Technically, it was 2 different itises, so I'm just going to throw that out there. Started with a sinus infection, moved into the flu. So had a real fun time. Let me tell you, happy Thanksgiving to me.
All right, So let's get into tonight's show. On the rundown, we've got San Diego guys. They're alive. Matt Hawkins tweeted us. I'll get into that. Last week's line out with Mark Bullock of Glendale Raptors. Ontario Arrows released their schedule. What is the PRP's impact on MLR? And then, as per usual, until this season kicks off, player signing nice ones this week. So let's get into it. San Diego gives hints on Twitter. So last week, one of our posters on the Reddit board, that is reddit.com/r/mlrugby, and his name is Cardiff RCM, put our exchange with Matt Hawkins, former USA Sevens coach, on the board so you can all read it. But he was on the operations and coaching staff for the San Diego Breakers. I think his role is about the same because they're running this ship pretty lean this year. But he dropped some hints. He said there's a few more announcements that they need to come out, and then their roster should drop pretty soon.
Yeah. So we're pretty happy to hear that they're actually around. This is a bit of a spoiler, but this will actually be part of the tweet of the week, so we'll list everything there. But basically just saying that coaches and players are around. They are picked out. They are together. They're apparently good, according to this unbiased source. So we're happy to see that because San Diego was the only one that really announced nothing and just came out a month and a half ago or something like that. So it's just encouraging from my end. I mean, I kind of pegged them sort of like Houston a couple of months ago, back before they got exploded. No one knew anything about them, so people were kind of freaking out and saying oh, this Houston team's coming out of nowhere. But then they came and it turns out that they actually have probably one of the better teams in the league. So hopefully San Diego can do something like that. There's a lot of good talent down there. Pretty good dedicated fan base too, from what I saw. That's all I got about San Diego. How about you, Victor?
Well, it's really good to finally hear from them because keep in mind, guys, we only have a couple of months to go until the start of the season, and they still haven't announced anything. No coaches, no players, nothing. But now that Mr. Hawkins came out publicly to say, hey, we got this things lined out, you just had to wait a couple weeks, it's reassuring. But I'm really not going to fully believe him until I actually see it. So that's all he really has to do. That's all he really has to do it for me. But I'm going to trust the guy. We'll see what happens.
Well, all I was going to say is that I don't think San Diego's going to back out at this point. I mean, they're on the schedule, they're on the website, they're everywhere. So I think San Diego, the team itself will exist. It'll just be interesting to see, kind of like you say, how they evolve and what they turn into. That being said, we've kind of said the same thing about Utah, and we said the same thing about New Orleans, and they have been bringing in some fantastic talent. Both those outfits have. And so clearly there's players out there, there's players that want to be signed. So that's not been an issue. And San Diego, from everything I hear, is a place you want to be. I mean, it's a very appealing place to live, just as culturally and the weather and everything else. So I would imagine that would be a very popular destination, potentially for some internationals, get some internationals out there, and as well as some high caliber domestics, whoever's left here. So I don't think San Diego is going to have a hard time filling their roster. Let's put it that way.
Moving on to the Line Out, episode 6, with Mark Bullock of the Glendale Raptors, director of rugby. Really, what do you guys think? I love talking rugby with people and just hanging out. You know, we could have gone on for a couple hours, just like the first conversation I had with him. I had to cut it off and, you know, respect his time. You saw, you know, a bunch of personal stuff, I think, and then also what has been accomplished in Glendale over the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, he really did help build up that program from what it was. And I love the part, and we were actually talking about this pre-show too, where basically he was working as a principal and Glendale came to him and said, we want you to be the coach. And he goes, well, I need to be making, you know, the same amount of money that I'm making here. So eventually they came back to him and said, okay, well, you have to do this, and this. You have to write grants. You have to be the liaison for like Homeland Security, everything like that. He goes, but I can play rugby, or I can coach rugby, right? You go, yes. He goes, okay, I'm in. So then from there, he really helped build it out. And then the only 11 years old, and they've already done all this. So it's really awesome to really see that come out. Kind of really a success story from rugby in the U.S.
Let me tell you, Mr. Matt Bullock, that guy has gone to a lot to make that Glendale program what it is today, and the fact that he sort of came from really humble beginnings back in the 70s, so he's been playing the game for quite a while, and I'm on top of that coaching 3 different sports besides rugby. You got basketball, American football. The guy obviously has a lot of expertise on top of everything that he had to go through to make the Glendale program what it is today. Definitely, I definitely do respect. I definitely had to respect the guy, because I know I'm sure it was quite hard, especially for the fact that that's the first program of his type in the country.
So he, I know he went from like Montana to Seattle and then back, came over to Denver. I definitely gave it a listen. I think it's really interesting to see the whole backstory of how everything is, because we're on these message boards, we talk about these teams, we forget that there's, you know, really people involved with them. So it's just seeing the whole background. It just kind of amazed me too, just to know exactly what he did and what he built, and really how it happened too. You know, there's a really kind of lengthy backstory about how he got familiar with the people in Glendale, and it just worked out really well. So yes, give it a listen. Give us listens, and we'll watch it too.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, so the Arrows 2018 schedule, their spring fixtures were announced. So the thing that interests me is these 2 matches, home and away, against what is said to be a Mystic alum backside, according to Brian Ray. Shout out there, man. You know, we have differing opinions on how this goes down, but so I did query Mystic River about this and didn't get anything back. So, you know, if it is Mystic, guys, I think it probably also involves this Boston RFC guy who is behind the Union Point development, funding a significant portion of the athletic, I guess, complex that's being built. And then that guy is a soup magnet. So
the soup king of Boston.
There's also the logo for Rugby Club New York. Really haven't heard anything out of them. So let's talk New York and Boston.
Okay, real quick before we get too far into the New York-Boston thing. Is clam chowder a soup or a chowder?
Yeah, right? Isn't it? I mean, I'm on the assumption that it is, right?
I guess it's more like if we're talking like, I'm not really a chowder guy. I mean,
chowder hen.
We've got like stews and soups, you know?
Yeah. It's more like a stew.
So I would say it's more like a stew.
To chowder.
Okay.
Then there's chili. Isn't chili like its own category, though?
Yeah, chili's definitely its own category.
We should probably
Chili's
take.
not
Yeah, that's true.
We should probably move this to the soup cast later this week.
We need one of those.
Oh man.
I've been talking about soup on every Wednesday night for years. Just never recorded it, but just talking to my wall about it.
There we go.
Dan just opens his window and shouts down the street.
Someone's got to do it. It's New York. Someone's going to be yelling out their window at midnight.
Of course.
French onion.
So yeah. So
Oh,
we got,
dude.
you know.
Broccoli cheddar.
So we've got that
That's
Rugby
my
Club
favorite
New
broccoli
York logo that is on their website. And then we've got, supposedly this Mystic River logo is a placeholder, but I'm calling it the Mystic River Hybrid. So, yeah.
Yeah, some sort of Boston affiliated team. They're from Boston. That's all that really matters. Whether or not they're related to this whole the Soup King of Boston or not, I'm not really sure. It could make sense. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to dive too deep into it because I'm basing this entirely off of one tweet by Arrows. I'm sorry, whoever this was that actually posted that, and then also Boston RFC's own Facebook post. It's all just really speculation at this point. I don't know anything. I never really know anything, but I'm really, really excited that there actually is a confirmed game in New York in the spring that I can go to and I can watch in person. I think that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it's going to be a mix of Old Blue and Nyack, or at least exclusively Old Blue and Nyack players. And then after that, they'll go back and kind of do their own thing with Old Blue and Nyack. But it will be a good way for the teams to come together, since this is probably where a good chunk of roster will come from. There's a lot of Eagles on these teams. I think it was actually Cardiff who somehow knows all these players, despite the fact that he is actually from the UK. Posted a potential roster, and I think there are about 7 or 8 Eagles on there. So that alone would be really awesome. Victor, fellow New Yorker, what do you think about having a New York?
What I'm thinking of this Rugby Club New York is, just like you said, Daniel, is going to be an Old Blue Nyack mix. I mean, they may probably throw the players probably from New York Rugby Club, maybe Village Lions. If we get really lucky, one person from Brooklyn, and obviously that's my local team, so obviously I will cheer for them. But of course, Brooklyn Rugby Club is like D3, I think, not even D2. But I'm definitely thinking that the bulk is going to definitely be All Blue and Nyack, since those are the main clubs in the city. Now, when it comes to this Mr. Ripper team, and as you probably noticed on the schedule that Ontario Arrows put up, again, it has the Mr. Ripper logo, but it says Boston. So what I'm thinking is that it's either going to be the Mr. Ripper team, with just probably a mixture of other players from the other Boston teams, like either Boston, the Boston Irish Wolfhounds, and the Boston Rugby, or just Mr. Ripper. So one of the two is what I'm thinking.
The one about Boston, not really New York, that has me interested is, well, you have all these Mystic guys that are leaving to go play MLR this year, Armando Maquiera down in Houston, and then John Sullivan down in New Orleans. So, I'm sort of wondering if they were, unless it's like Brian Ray said, long-term think Glendale model, but if you're thinking the Glendale model is actually like 10 years.
To Armando, his name is Diego.
Diego Armando.
No, what? Is
Diego Armando Maquiera.
Yeah. So
Diego Armando.
Diego Armando Maquiera. All right.
Yeah,
So the point is, obviously,
shout out
and then
to him.
Then you saw up with Chicago, JP Eloff. They're supposedly going to be a team for 2019. Like, he's down in New Orleans. So it's a question of what is the long term? Are they thinking 4-year, 5-year, 4-year plan, whatever it is, to get into this, or is it, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've always overstated how important it is that current players from the area are. Obviously, it's important. I honestly, Mystic Rivers had a pretty good club for years, but I don't know too many Eagles that have really come out from it, as opposed to like New York, where there are a lot of Eagles who are playing on both these teams. But sometimes Mystic River would still beat them. But these clubs have all brought in a bunch of players from different areas too. But there's also the chance that if someone's really good enough and wants to return, then they'll return. But they're going to the paid job first. They may want to return later, or they may never return. They may love Nolans. They love the Big Easy, so they may stay down there. But I don't think it's a big deal, really.
Mystic won the national championship in 2016. 2016.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago now. And
1 year now.
Yeah. So, like 18 months later, they've, this new campaign, they lost every match in the American Rugby Premiership.
Oh,
so
wow,
that's
not good.
Yeah, I looked at the standings the other day, and there were no spring fixtures listed. So that sort of had me wondering what was up. And then you see this that schedule plot. So.
Yeah. No, but either way, I think that hopefully in the next couple of years, even if a team loses all their better players or like their Eagles or high school Americans or collegiate Americans, I think that they can hopefully fill in those gaps within the next couple of years.
I think you can definitely.
What I'm thinking. Yeah, bro, sorry about that. What I was going to say, what I'm thinking is that probably a couple of the players from the East Coast that go down to the other teams that are currently in Major League Rugby may probably go back to a team that opens up in their area, whether in 2019 or beyond. So, like, say, for example, if a team, Rugby Club New York definitely comes in 2019, or the one in Boston, you may have a couple of those guys from the East Coast that are, like, say, down in New Orleans Gold, just going back up to New York State and playing for the team. So that could be a possibility as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Interesting things. So Capital Rugby Union Selects played the USA South Panthers, and the South Panthers are a pretty intense program. They won the RAN, the Rugby America's North championship this year. So and then you have Capital Selects out there. I think you've got 2 squads right there that could, in addition to if your scouting is right, you could fulfill, at least one more team out of those 2. Put them in a daily training environment, and so that could give you your Boston team, right? So there's players, and I think there's enough collegiate players that are just out there, and we'll get to some of these signings where there's guys that haven't played a lot of rugby recently, but they played rugby growing up and they played other sports in college, and they're still young and they're ready to get after it. So
I think also with this too, not to kind of beat this a bit, but just because someone's from a city doesn't mean that it could mean that they're more likely to actually play for that city if they played locally. But a lot of these guys may not even be from the area. They're playing locally, and the location doesn't really mean as much to them. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to go where the money comes in. You're not going to turn down an extra $10,000 or $15,000 if it's just because it's back, I guess, what was your home, because you're still going to have to pay for rent and everything like that too. So I think people always think, oh, this guy is from San Diego, so he's definitely going to play for San Diego, and San Diego loses him. I'm pretty sure that all these teams have been in contact to some degree with players, so that's something I've seen come up a lot too.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about San Diego. So it's like, and what Mark talked about in the podcast is like, well, players weren't under contract at a certain juncture, so everyone could have, like he mentioned, Sean Davies. Anyone could have talked to Sean Davies, and I guess a few people did, and Sean Davies was like, "No, I'm going to stay in Glendale." So, I mean, you know, there it is. On to the next big subject that hit the board this week. The Pacific Rugby Premiership is coming back. What does that look like?
The Samurai Pacific.
Oh, yeah. The Samurai Pacific Rugby Premiership is back after taking a 1-year hiatus. It has been reorganized, and it has the 3 D1 teams from NorCal, 3 D1 teams in SoCal. The D1 for SoCal and NorCal has been reorganized with some relegation going on, and they aim to build out this, I would say, elite amateur competition. So the best amateur competition that you have in club rugby. So Dan, what do you think?
I think timing is really, really good, because my assumption, or I guess my theory, whatever, is that a lot of players who will be playing for San Diego are from California and play in the PRP. They would play each other a lot. The coaches would be familiar from the area with a lot of these players. And then it may end up being their entire preseason for the most part, because there are 2 games that conflict. That would be the last regular season game for the PRP, and then the actual final, which comes place a few weeks later. But one thing that's interesting about the scheduling, I guess 2 things actually. One is that April 21st, there's no game. It's a bye week, which happens to be MLR. Whether or not that was intentional, I'm assuming it was. The second part that was actually interesting was that for the Eagles matches that were actually just announced recently as well, those are coming up. The 3 of them are going to be in California for the ARC match, and the way it worked out where there's one that's going to be in more Northern California, and then the 3 Northern California teams are hosting that week, and then it's the opposite when they go down to Los Angeles. I think the 3 Southern California teams are hosting when it's playing down there. So that was just kind of interesting how that worked out, because I think obviously that was planned out. They like to have the clubs in the area so you can get extra fans that can go to the game after.
In the first week, the ARC kickoff, the 3rd of February.
I missed that completely. My computer shut off.
Yeah, so not only is that a bye, and this really matters for the union more so than anybody else. So there's a match which kicks off the ARC. It's a doubleheader at StubHub, and all of SoCal Rugby Football Union is on a bye, and I don't know, my club is on a bye that weekend, and I think that was intentional across the board.
Yeah, and that's good too, because in Philly, as Victor and I don't know how many people you spoke to, Victor, but for me, my club is playing. So I just didn't show up, basically. And there were other clubs who went, but, you'd occasionally get 1 or 2 people who'd be like, yeah, I came here, but my club is playing. So, that's missing out on maybe 10 more people who could have been there from each club within, an hour and a half radius. So that kind of sucks that happened for that. But for this one, it looks like it's going to be a lot better opportunity for people to be able to actually show up to the game. It's good to reach out to new people, but right now a lot of our fans are current players. So if the current players can't even make it, then you're going to miss out on a lot of fans.
Looking at so how does this affect MLR? Some people think because we haven't heard anything about San Diego, right? And Matt has come out and said, hey, we've got our players, we've got our staff, we need things to drop, and then we're going to announce everything. So there is an assumption. I'm not saying it's wrong. It might be correct. It has me wondering, is the core of the San Diego team basically the core of the on-back team? And I don't think so, personally, because, I've linked on the Reddit site a few times the interview that the on-back head coach had with the Rugby Republic, and he clearly stated that they had previously explored the MLR model and it did not fit with what they wanted to do and are remaining an amateur club. So that's where I think, yes, I think there will be several on-back players on San Diego Legion, but I do not think there will be that much of a, going back and forth, except for, as I've talked about with Austin, the guys that don't make the 23, they'll probably be released to play for a local club that week.
What I'm thinking is that the Pacific Rugby Premiership is going to serve as a warm up to a couple of the players that may play for the Legion, and the schedule of the Premiership is actually quite good, because you start in February, and then the Major League Rugby starts on the 21st of April, and that's already I think semifinals, and then the week after that is finals, and that's it. So really overlaps the last 2 weeks, but before them everything's good. So what I'm thinking is that you may have a couple of the players from the Legion that may play for those 6 clubs that probably, like, say, if they don't make the match 23, they may play for their amateur clubs, and those obviously that do make it for the Legion will play, and everything will be hunky dory. And once the season is over, that's it. Things go back to normal, I guess.
The reason why I don't think that's going to be a thing, and here's why. So
he's basically saying, Victor, this is why you're wrong.
No, well, yeah, but so
no, that's cool. No worries. I don't mind.
Everything we've talked about and everything I've gathered is league contracts start on 3 January. The salary cap covers the season, so 21 April to 28 June, and then full assembly for the entirety of the league is on like the first week of January, and so I think, so what are they going to get paid? That's a stipend. That is not the wage that they're going to earn during the season, because we've had questions about salary cap and whatnot. So I think if the league is paying people, the league doesn't want, the majority of their team playing these pretty hard matches week in and week out as their training camp, unless it's for their, the Legion. That's my idea. I might be wrong. Might be completely wrong. And then, Ombak basically becomes San Diego Legion overnight.
That could happen. That definitely will happen, but we'll see how things go as the Premiership starts, and obviously as the Legion finally pulls out the curtain completely and brings out the players and coaching staff. So
my only thought on the PRP thing is just the fact that as often as we can, as much as we can, high-level competitions of any sort, whether it's club level or professional like MLR, is good for the game in the country. So more power to them, and looking forward to seeing what comes next. So, but at any rate, guys, I think we've got some news out of signings. Back to the grind. Who we got this week?
So Utah, in the last 7 days, has announced a bunch. One of them I pulled from Rugby Today, but let's just hit it. Utah Warriors signed USA Islanders center number 8, Saya Totahi Uhila. Saya is Tongan by birth. He's been playing rugby in the U.S. for quite a while. He's a powerful 8-man, but also an extremely stout inside center. Most recently, he was with Rugby Utah Rugby Brothers in the men's premier division back in 2016. In 2015, he was with the East Palo Alto Bulldogs, which is a former V1 team in NorCal. 2015, same year, he was also on the Life West Rugby Sevens team that competed in Club Sevens Nationals. He was previously an Oceanside Rugby Club U19 player. His brother, Loni Uhila, is the Tongan Bear, who currently plays for ASM Clermont. He previously played for the Hurricanes in Super Rugby and Waikato Rugby down in the Mitre 10. He's 31 years old, 6'4", 260 pounds. Big dude. The one I pulled out of Rugby Today, yet to be announced, but he's in Utah. He was on the Utah Selects. He was also on the West Valley Lions in the men's premier division. He's an open side flanker, is Lance Williams. He is also a Utah Selects Sevens national champion. So they won the Club Sevens national championship this year. He was a linebacker at the University of Hawaii, played 48 games, started 21. He had 124 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss. He's been living in Utah for a little while. Just an all-around athlete. As a letter winner in high school, he played football, ran track, lettered in volleyball and basketball. He's also, played a little bit of rugby growing up, He played rugby union, but he's played a few times in the big rugby league festival that they have on the Big Island in Hawaii. And then the third player I got for the Utah Warriors is their signing from today. They're bringing some more rugby league flair this week. That's like 2 guys to add to the one guy that was already a league international. So I guess when it comes to rugby league, they're actually, as soon as they see Union, they're going to stay with Union. That right, guys?
It seems to happen. I mean, I just go with the numbers,
So,
That's just
without further ado, Utah Warriors signed USA Rugby League Hawk national team player in Jacksonville, Axman Pio Vatuve. He's a flanker and a center, but apparently he wants to become a prop. Formerly a defensive end for the University of Louisville. Played rugby growing up with the Hayward Griffins. He played with Louisville Rugby in what I would call his final semester, which was in the fall after his I guess camp invitation with the Bucks didn't go so hot. Didn't get drafted, but he was invited to the Bucks and prepared for the Bucks training camp, and then completed his degree in fall of 2016. He played 22 games at Louisville, recording 44 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble. He also played 9 games as a true freshman for the University of Washington, and I think he was in the same recruiting class as Saul Wuching. He's 23 years old, 6'2", 250 pounds right now, but I'm guessing if he's converting to prop, he's going to put on about 20 or 30 and just be a monster. Dan, what do you got, man?
Awesome. So I got a couple signings, both from the Seawolves. Seawolves signed Mike Palafau, who's fullback, Eagle number 342, to the squad. He's a bit of an experienced rugby player. So he's been around for about 17 years or so. I don't know when he started, but he's 37 now. He's, I think, same class as Todd Clever, who we hope is going to be playing for the Austin Elite Rugby, though we can't, may not be fair because he's a part owner, so that might be a bit biased, but, I'm pretty sure that, like, someone like Jerry Jones, if he wanted to play, he'd put himself in, but he's a bit too old now anyway. But so like I said, fullback, he is an Eagle, number 342. He's been a member of the Seattle Saracens since they merged between old Puget Sound Bay and Seattle RFC. He's won a Club Sevens national title in 2014, and most recently was on the Washington Athletic Club Sevens side that completed in the Club Sevens national tournament. So the other Seawolves signing was actually John Hayden. Central Washington University graduate, was selected to the wider USA Select squad during the 2017 APC. Congratulations to him. If I'm not mistaken, John Hayden, he didn't play pro, did he? But he did play with another club, or am I making that up?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Just ignore this part.
Sure, yeah.
This didn't happen. all just in your head. But yeah, but those are the 2 Seawolves that got signed. I think I keep saying this almost every week, but I'm nearly 100% certain that that is their starting 15 that they actually have now. It might be 14, but I'm pretty sure that it's at least a 15 by this point. So it's great to have Mike, who is really experienced, maybe even be able to come on as a coach in a bit. And then John Hayden, who's also a bit experienced too, even though he's only 22 years old. So it's great to have one oldie, one youngie. So thank you.
Oldie and youngie, is that is that a scientific term or?
Yeah, I think I think it is. Victor, why don't you talk, because I don't want to do that anymore.
Sounds cool. No worries. But, by the way, Dan, did you want to give the stats of both players? Because you didn't mention age nor
I didn't mention
anything
age.
else.
He mentioned
You can
age.
pay attention.
No.
We just said this. I made that really weird oldie and youngie thing. So I did mention the age.
Oh yeah, but I mean, and the height and the weight. I mean, I wrote it up for a reason.
Okay, well, Mike Palafau, 37, 6 foot 1 inch, and weighs 201 pounds. John Hayden, however, is 6 foot 2 inches and 275 pounds. So he's about 74 pounds and 1 inch on him. So that's going from like skinny to just like, prop. That's really, really perfect right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so going on mine, guys. So the last two are as follows. So first, NOLA Gold announced the addition of international lock Mr. Nikola Bursic. Now, this is a Chilean international. Although he was born in Torrance, California, but he grew up in Santiago, Chile. Now, Bursic has played for Craig House All Boys since childhood, and even after going to Ohio State, Idaho State University. Excuse me. Idaho, Ohio, sounds similar. And having a stint with the San Diego Breakers of Pro Rugby, Bursic remains in his club while in town. Now, with his return to USA, the man now links with fellow Chilean Sebastian Com, making NOLA Gold the only MLR side thus far to have South American representation, specifically with 2 players. So obviously, congratulations for having Nicola back to the States. He's age 24. He is 6 feet 2 inches, or 1.88 meters, weighs 257 pounds, or 116 kilograms. And finally, guys, we had the one and only U.S. international, U.S. Eagle, Mr. Matthew Jensen, who's been signed to, of course, the Utah Warriors. He is a former Brigham Young University player, also an All-American as well. Although he made his mark in Utah as the Mormon that he is, he's actually originally from Scranton, Pennsylvania, actually. And he was involved. Yeah, I know.
Exactly, home of The Office.
Actually,
there we go.
I mean, he looks like a just massive linebacker or defensive end at that size.
Well, I mean, he did American football, track and field, javelin throwing. So yeah, this guy, that's quite something. So his rugby career, the thing is that he was in American football for a while, and after he returned from a service mission in Paraguay, he decided to move over to rugby altogether. And he also played for the mythical Highland Rugby Club. Most people that tell me about rugby know Highland because of the Forever Strong movie, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, guys, I definitely suggest you do. It's super corny, but it's one of those sports movies that when you watch it, it makes it's called Forever Strong.
Forever Strong. Okay.
Forever Strong. If you haven't never seen it, wow, I'm surprised. That is the only rugby movie I know.
I've seen 2.
Invictus is the only rugby movie.
Invictus, the one that's
that's the only mainstream rugby movie that most people know about rugby.
There's a Bollywood movie too. There's a Bollywood movie.
Oh yeah,
rugby.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it's called.
Well, yeah. That one. We don't talk about that one because it's not really about the sports. At least not faithfully represented.
It's probably about large groups of people dancing. About Bollywood.
There was a lot of kicking and punching involved,
or a lot of killing. It would have a lot of killing.
Exactly, but definitely, guys, watch
Forever.
But yeah, guys, definitely watch Forever Strong. Again, really corny movie, but definitely worth it. So anyway, so he played there. Jensen won 2 championships, by the way, and went on tour to Australia, where he impressed so much that he won a spot with the Eagles against the Maori All Blacks in the 2016 match that you may remember. Now, his first appearance, or at least cap appearance for the Eagles, was against Uruguay in this year's America's Rugby Championship, when he became Eagle number 506. And he scored against Chile and Georgia as well. So he's age 25. He's 6 feet 8 inches, or 2.03 meters. So that guy is huge. He weighs 240 pounds or 108 kilograms. And I was also lucky enough to meet his beautiful wife when the Eagles played against Ireland at Red Bull Arena. She was actually sitting in front of me, and when he came to the field, I just heard her scream, "Yeah, go mad!" You know, super high pitched white girl kind of sound.
Whoa.
And
Whoa.
just saying. So I said,
Racist.
"Excuse me, miss, who are you screaming?" It's not me. Come on, Corey, you know me better than that, bro. And plus, you know I'm half white, so I cannot be racist. Thank you. So, anyways, thank you. I cannot be, because I cannot hate half of me. That's so stupid.
Victor just dropped the mic right there. He's like, boom.
I'm half. I can't be racist.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
I haven't heard anyone ever.
Like, you know, Obama.
You're just calling out tropes, and that's a bit rough.
I've yet to hear in my life someone say I'm white. I can't be racist. That's the part that just kind of
I'm half white. I'm half white. That cannot be racist. I cannot be racist against white people because I'm half white. You know, it's just common sense. I cannot be racist against blacks because I'm half black. That's how I see it as someone who's Hispanic. You know, Hispanics, we laugh at race. We find the concept of race here in the States hilarious. We don't really see it the same way as they do it here in the States. So to us, it's like whatever. But anyways, yeah, she was really pleasant, by the way. Like, we hugged and everything. She was awesome. So
Really pleasant
of
for
course,
a white girl.
So shout outs to Mrs. Jensen.
Hey, he was like, I just hugged an Eagle's spouse. Yes.
Yeah. No, she was really cool. You know, like, we shook hands and hugged.
It's like I hugged an
eagle.
She's
a really sweet woman.
Like
she was really she was a really sweet woman, because the thing is, she and I had a conversation alongside Adrian McGinty's girlfriend Samantha, so it was like the three of us talking, and cool. Sam also is really cool. So, you know, like, let me tell you, the girlfriends and wives of the Eagles are really nice ladies. I have to say, the ones I met so far.
That's awesome.
So yeah, guys, so signings.
All right. Well, another big week for signings. Not quite as big of a week for news, but we got a little bit for our news, views, and abuse section. So let's get right to it, guys. Coming out of Austin, Thierry was kind enough to retweet some information on a new stadium coming to town. If you guys had an opportunity to look at the pictures of this thing, it looks freaking just amazing. It's just mind-blowingly.
It looks very American too. If that's what you're
very
trying to say.
Very American.
Yeah.
It's very American.
Yeah.
It's the Bjork Ingles Group Stadium, or Big Stadium. It's solar powered. And it is appears to be like a concert venue / sporting facility / community center / just all around freaking crazy cool looking place that they're proposing to build in Austin. Now, I did notice that I think this is not the first time Thierry has tweeted or commented about stadiums coming to Austin. So I wonder, I get the impression maybe they're just kind of sitting back and waiting to see what happens right now before they make any commitments.
So I got something on that. So I sort of sent a text, and I was like, hey, so that looks cool. And then he like called me like right away, and I was like, whoa. So I took the call, and he's saying, so right now, to include this one, there are like 5 stadium projects under consideration in Austin. And whichever one it is, and this is like thinking long term, like year 4 or 5, maybe even 6, that whichever stadium it is, Austin Elite Rugby is going to be a tenant. Like it's like that's gonna happen. So, you know, that's gonna, and you know, that wasn't the first time I'd been told that by them. That was like probably the 3rd or 4th time. So by the time whatever stadium gets built, we're probably going to see, you know, Austin Elite Rugby playing, you know, in a brand new stadium. And
40,000 seats.
and I think Dan's going to talk to us a little about the arms race that is about to start.
Arms race?
Facilities arms race.
Oh, facilities arm race. I was like, I don't know anything about that. Speaking of facilities, Utah didn't announce their facility, but America's Rugby News did post a little article saying that Utah Stadium will be, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's the
Bank.
Zion Bank.
Yeah.
It is the Academy, I guess, field stadium / practice field for the Real Salt Lake. So the Academy team plays there, and I think it's around 5,000 or 6,000 they can fit. It's already built. It looks pretty nice, but it's basically being able to use their facilities because right next to the actual stadium, there's this really nice gym, fitness center, everything like that. So that's something that I'm hoping that Utah will actually be able to use and help them, get a bit more legit. We thought this would be the case months ago because I think someone posted a tweet and then everyone did their own personal digging and found out more information about it. And since I think the current owner of Real Salt Lake is really interested in investing in things like rugby and lacrosse, it just sort of made, perfect sense. Our friend Bob Iverson said he promised to take some nicer pictures than the one in the article. So we're looking forward to that. If we don't get them soon, we're gonna have to get rid of questions from Bob if we don't get what we want. So, but yeah, that's really awesome that Utah's got a nice stadium. Seems similar to the Starfire stadium that Seattle's playing at. Speaking of Seattle, Corey, I think you were going to mention something about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick note out of Seattle that they have posted season tickets. They're now available for the 4 home games that are coming to Seattle this season. It's going to be $99. It starts at $99. The most expensive option is $129. So for four matches, that's a very reasonable price for a professional team. IMO. Their games are going to be held at Starfire Stadium, and I'm just taking a look. They don't have single match tickets on sale yet, but they do have the prices listed here. So, as I said, the season tickets are either $99 or $129, depending on how close to the field you want to be. And then the corresponding single match tickets are going to be $29 for the higher up section and $39 for the closer in section. That's on both that's on the north side of the stadium. They also have a family section over on the south side, which are $29 and $99 respectively. So it looks like they've got a pretty good setup there. Looks like they've once again just pushing this professionalism that we keep hearing out of the league. These are legit stadiums with legit ticket prices. So not joking around. It's good to see Seattle is offering that up, and especially once those single match tickets go on sale, I'm sure we're gonna see some movement on that. People going out to check out a match here and there. So,
plus at this point, if you're a local rugby fan and you could pay $100 for 4 games for yourself, like that's a very reasonable season ticket package. Whereas if you are trying to get to an NFL game, season tickets will cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Plus, you'll spend a ton of money on parking and all the beverages and drinks and food and everything there. It's kind of a lot. And I mean, especially, I don't know if it's the same across the country, but in New York, it's $13 for a Bud Light at Citi Field.
What?
That's right.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. I think it's $11 for Bud Light, but for like Stella, it's $12 or $13.
That's crazy.
I think it was. I think it was like $9 last time I bought a beer at a stadium. And that was like, Bud Light and whatever else was like 11.
Yeah. So I don't know what I mean.
Tell that to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the whole affordability is, because that's a huge draw. I mean, there are always people like NFL. There's so many people who are saying, I want to bring my kids to a football game. I love this sport. I want them to see it, but to get anything, even nosebleeds, will cost you $400 or $500. For parking, for tickets, for drinks, for everything for the kids, and it's just not affordable. This can cost you $150, and I can have a great time out there.
Yeah.
I can't go down to an University of Iowa Hawkeyes football game for that price. So
Wow.
one game. So it's pretty awesome to see an entire season for that price. So yeah.
Wow.
Dan, hey Dan,
Yeah.
guess what time it is?
10:50.
Well, yeah, on the East Coast.
Yeah, for us.
It's also time for Tweet of the Week.
We have a tweet of the week. We broke some rules. One, because we have 2 tweets, and 2, because there are no emojis or hashtags or anything like that. However, we talked about this before. There was a spoiler for anyone who was actually paying attention. Basically, with San Diego Legion, we had Matt Hawkins. His Twitter account is at PolarBearKZN. So, between the whole conversation between Cardiff and Strubra over here.
Me.
That's you. Matt says, "Gents, you're on the right track. We've put together a great squad and are excited about what's ahead. Likewise, the coaching staff is exceptional and incredibly talented. I won't be head coach, unfortunately. We look forward to hosting you both at the game." And then more stuff was said. And then he goes, "Names will start being released in the next few weeks. A few other announcements before we start with those." So this is dated to December 8th. So it was about 3 days ago. So players will likely be announced around January. And then they'll have other announcements, which I'm assuming one will be a stadium, which seems to be the one that everyone really wants to know, though we assume it'll be Torero Stadium, because there's really not that many options out there. And then after that, I wonder what the other announcements may be, other than coaches and players.
I guess, that streaming option for the league needs to drop. But getting into the background on this, I forget. I think I responded to Cardiff about something that he put on the board. And I was like, I asked him how he tracks all these people, because he lives in Hereford. And he goes, "Oh, speaking of, when do you think San Diego Legion's going to start announcing their squad?" And I was like, I don't know, but I have an earful of dirt, obviously the pun, and I haven't heard much other than that they're chugging along getting ready. I'd say the latest is, 3 January, which, I understand is USMLR report date. And then he goes, "What about coaching staff?" And I said, I'm pretty sure Polar Bear is the head coach, and Polar Bear is the nickname of Matt Hawkins. And then he goes, "Nope, not me, but I am there. I am coaching, but I'm not the head coach." And,
It's confirmed, too, because he has the logo of San Diego Legion in his Twitter account. So, I mean, he can't be making that up at that point, really.
Yeah, so, there's that. So I'm wondering when it's going to drop. I'd like it to drop soon and, go forward.
Yeah.
Well, the other
So
thing
Cardiff is from Cardiff, where he lives in England, right, guys?
He lives in Hereford.
He does
Which
not
is
live in
England.
London. Do not say that, though. I didn't say that. I'm just saying that.
I read somewhere.
Well, Hereford is in England. That's what.
Yeah. Across the bridge. He lives across the bridge.
Okay, if it's in England, that's all I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to hear some news out of San Diego, but I think we got to monitor expectations here and just say we're heading into Christmas. Things are probably going to be shut down really until January, so we'll just sit back and see what happens. So
it probably will be in January when they start making announcements. Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa is not the best time to announce things. So, well, yeah. Do we have any questions from Bob?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We've got one that came in. Just as a reminder, guys, we do try to post a thread each week over on our Reddit page. That's reddit.com/r/MLRugby, requesting questions from Bob. So this week came in from Molodites, and he wants to know what the F was NAPR. And I'll go ahead and echo that and just say, hey guys, what is or was NAPR? I don't know.
So, I mean, I think Grant has talked about it on the podcast a little bit. I have, a little more detail after spending some time in over in freaking Houston at the Lost Afternoon. So, Napper. So previously, there was a sanctioned competition that was going to be called North American Professional Rugby. And it was a dual sanctioned agreement. So there was Rugby Canada was signed on to this because there was going to be a team in Vancouver, and there was going to be a team in the Bay, which was actually going to be funded at the time by Chairman Will Chang. And then there was going to be the team in Glendale. And then there was going to be a team, I think all the same backers of Houston were on this. So there was going to be 4 teams, and then they had plans to expand the next year. And there was just a bunch of stuff that they didn't meet for benchmarks, so they just never launched. And then Doug obviously took over, basically took the same sanctioning agreement for the most part, minus a few things, and did pro. So it was a dream that never was, because there were just thresholds that did not get achieved. But this would have been like, I don't know, 10 years ago. Apparently we need to bring in our friend This is Texas Rugby to do the Rugby History podcast to talk about this.
Sounds good. By the way, guys, are you looking at the Twitter?
Yeah, I read that.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
I've heard of Twitter before.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just hit this real quick. So Grant, thanks for listening, man. You're out there not only on YouTube comment land, you're also on Twitter land. Looks like while we were talking here, Grant tagged Mike Ford, our USA Sevens coach, and
not USA Sevens coach. That's Mike Friday.
Mike Friday. Oh my gosh. Okay, Mike Ford, director of rugby at the Griffins. Former, present,
The former future.
Yeah, former future.
I don't know what's going on with that one.
So anyway, Grant tagged Mike, whatever his status is, and just asking him if he's going to be at the scrimmage versus Sabercats and Dallas this weekend. That's on Saturday. And he said that he, along with us, really want to talk about some USMLR stuff. And so, yeah, Mike, if you happen to be listening and you're not the coach of our Sevens team, go ahead and let us know what you're doing this weekend if you're going to make it out to the match.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Also, big fan of you at Toulon, sir. Big fan.
And as the Sevens coach too, really amazing job.
That was a brain fart and a half right there. This is why I'm telling you, don't let me talk. I'll just hang back here.
So,
that way, yeah.
All right.
I don't.
I'm gonna ruck you over right now and go into final thoughts. So last thing of housekeeping, if you guys paid attention, or not you guys, but our viewers at home, Glendale tweeted out their revamped portion of the website and their staff section. All those people are not new, but you see their full bios. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see their players get announced. Victor, offload to you, man, unless Dan has something to say.
That's right. Or Corey.
Well, all I've got to say is, once again, Grant's commenting on back to us and just saying that match this Saturday is actually going to be a full match. It's not a scrimmage now, so that could be very interesting to see what comes out of that. So,
be fun to watch.
Yeah,
we can't watch it. We're here.
Maybe somebody will set up a camcorder. We can watch it later.
Facebook Live. Cool.
Yep. Hey. Grant, we need you just to hold up a cell phone.
If it's a full match this time, let's get live film, because the last time it's Sabercats versus Reds. Oh, never mind. It's SaberCats versus Reds at the Reds pitch. So if you're in Dallas and you don't have anything to do, go check it out. SaberCats won 55-14 over the Blacks. So things are starting to round out into form.
Nice.
There we go. Well, guys,
Preseason's almost done. Real preseason's about to start in a couple of weeks.
That's exactly right. Well, guys, going back to final thoughts. First thing real quick, tomorrow, December 12th, there's going to be a rugby gala here in New York City, guys. I don't know if you heard this, which is the Memphis Inner City Rugby Gala. That is obviously from the people from Memphis Inner City, which is a rugby program they have over there in Memphis, Tennessee. So we're going to have a gala in New York City tomorrow. That's going to be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So if you are in New York City and you're listening to this and you want to check it out, that will be tomorrow. Dan, if you're not doing anything, bro, if you want to come with me, let's go.
Get my holiday party.
That's got to cost like $100.
That's exactly right. How do you know, dude?
I'm guessing.
Exactly right. I know. Well, your guess was correct. It's $100. Dang it, not bad. Well, I mean, I won't go in there because if Dan is not going, I'm not going. I mean, it's like whatever. That's cool. I'm not gonna go on my own. I wanted to go with Daniel. Nah, it's okay, Dan. No worries. You go to your holiday party, bro. I just won't go. It's cool, no problem. But because I mean, if I gotta spend $100, I want you to spend $100 too. You know?
Yeah.
Nah, but in all honesty, moving from that, guys. So, well, guys, this is pretty much the end of the podcast. Thank you for joining us. By the way, we did our best to keep the show at less than a 70-minute show. So I think we're like on 60 minutes, like minute 64. So we're doing great. So I think the shortest show we have done with 4 of us, which is great. So hopefully we're gonna keep this up. Oh, now we're minute 65. 66. Thank you.
Hurry up.
67. Nah. Moving on. So, in any case, guys, thank you for joining us at the Earful of Dirt podcast. As always, guys, subscribe to us at our YouTube channel, Earful of Dirt Fancast. Like us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Earful of Dirt on all those 3 social platforms. Of course, add us to your iTunes feed as well as Google Play, Stitcher, and Player FM. Of course, leave us a review. We need to check because I definitely didn't check this week, guys. So I don't know if we had anything. If you left something, we'll talk about it next week. Also, make sure to call us at our phone number, drop us a voicemail, and that will be at 1-720-600-2679. Again, that's 1-720-600-2679. As you know, we do this live streams at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. With that, guys, my name is Victor. Again, that was Corey. That was Daniel. That's Aaron. We'll see you next week. Muy buenas noches.
Connect with Earful of Dirt anytime. We're on Facebook and Twitter as Earful of Dirt. You can email us at earfulofdirt@gmail.com or call and leave us a voicemail at 720-600-2679. Until next time, for Aaron, Dan, and Victor, I'm Corey. Thanks for joining us.